Jackie Gleason revealed the Golden Age guests who were actually evil. Jackie Gleason was born Herbert Walton Gleason Jr. on February 26, 1916 in Brooklyn, New York. Gleason's beginnings were humble and marked by struggle. His father left the family when Jackie was just a boy and his mother passed away while he was still in his teens. These early hard times forced Gleason to grow up quickly, but they also shaped the toughness and humor that would later become his trademarks. His quick wit and natural charm were clear even when he was young, as he began entertaining friends, neighbors, and anyone who would listen, using comedy as both a shield and a way of connecting with people. By the late 1930s, Gleason was working as a master of ceremonies in theaters and clubs, gradually improving his timing and developing a style that would make him stand out in the crowded world of entertainment. His big break came when he moved into television during the early days of the medium, just as America was falling in love with TV as a central part of family life. Jackie quickly stood out with his endless energy, expressive face, and amazing ability to transform into memorable characters. Perhaps Gleason's most lasting contribution to television was The Honeymooners, the legendary sitcom that premiered in 1955. In it, Gleason starred as Ralph Cramden, a loud yet lovable Brooklyn bus driver whose dreams were always bigger than his paycheck. Alongside Audrey Meadows as Alice, Art Carney as Ed Norton, and Joyce Randolph as Trixie, Gleason created a timeless portrayal of working-class life, complete with laughter, frustration, and deep affection. Though the original run lasted only 39 episodes, the show's influence was enormous, shaping the very foundation of sitcoms for generations to come. Lines like, "One of these days," "Alice," "Bang," "Zoom," "Straight to the Moon" became iconic in American pop culture, and Ralph Cramden remains one of television's most recognizable characters. But Gleason was far from just a television star. He was also a man of extraordinary versatility. He hosted the Jackie Gleason Show for many years, a variety program filled with comedy sketches, musical performances, and his own larger-than-life presence that drew millions of viewers each week. Beyond television, Gleason also made a successful leap into the world of cinema. He appeared in numerous films, but perhaps his most celebrated role came in The Hustler, 1961, where he played the smooth and intimidating pool shark Minnesota Fats alongside Paul Newman. The performance earned him critical acclaim and showed audiences that behind his comedic genius was a deeply talented dramatic actor. Adding yet another dimension to his career, Jackie Gleason also pursued a passion for music. He produced a series of easy-listening orchestral albums in the 1950s and 1960s which became remarkably popular with lush arrangements and romantic moods. His records such as Music for Lovers only struck a chord with audiences and showcased his ability to appeal not just through laughter but through emotion and atmosphere. In fact, his albums sold millions of copies, cementing his status as a true multi-talented entertainer. Despite his fame and success, Gleason remained a figure grounded in authenticity. He brought to his performances an everyman quality that resonated with audiences across America. His larger-than-life persona, often punctuated by his famous catchphrase, "How sweet it is," revealed a man who found joy in entertaining others and who never shied away from the spotlight. Yet those who knew him personally described him as a man who could be both loud and deeply thoughtful, someone who carried his early life struggles with him, but turned them into fuel for creativity. Jackie Gleason's impact on entertainment remains enormous. Countless comedians, actors, and television creators cite him as an inspiration, and his work continues to be celebrated in reruns, tributes, and retrospectives. His ability to capture the essence of humor, humanity, and heart ensured that his legacy would live far beyond his passing. Jackie Gleason's personal life, particularly his marriages, was as eventful and colorful as his legendary career in television and entertainment. His first and longest marriage was to Genevieve Halford, whom he wed in 1936, at the very beginning of his rise in show business. At the time, Gleason was still a struggling comedian and actor, hustling for roles in New York City nightclubs and theaters. Genevieve, a devoted Catholic, was reluctant to marry him at first because of his show business lifestyle and his reputation for heavy drinking and womanizing, but she eventually agreed. Their marriage would last an impressive 34 years, though it was often marked by tension and separation. The couple had 2 daughters, Geraldine and Linda, both of whom were very private compared to their father's celebrity status. Genevieve, who wanted Jackie to leave the entertainment industry and live a more stable, family-centered life, often clashed with him over his career choices, his late-night socializing, and his lack of domestic discipline. Despite repeated separations, they did not officially divorce until 1970, long after Gleason had become one of the most recognized faces on American television. This first marriage demonstrated both Genevieve's loyalty and Gleason's complicated personality. He was at once charming and charismatic, yet notoriously difficult to live with. Almost immediately after his divorce from Genevieve was finalized, Gleason entered into his second marriage, this time to Beverly McKittrick in 1970. Beverly was a secretary whom he had met years earlier, and she was notably younger than Gleason. Their union was short-lived and often described by biographers as more of a transitional phase in Gleason's life rather than a deep romantic connection. Friends and associates of the comedian noted that Jackie seemed restless during this period. His health was beginning to decline. His drinking and smoking habits were catching up to him, and he was searching for a new kind of stability. Unfortunately, his marriage to Beverly did not provide that sense of balance, and after only 5 years together, the couple divorced in 1975. While not much is widely known about Beverly compared to his first and third wives, her brief time with Gleason reflected the comedian's ongoing struggle to reconcile his personal relationships with the demands and lifestyle of a world-famous entertainer. Later that same year, Jackie Gleason married for the third and final time to Marilyn Taylor in 1975. Marilyn was the sister of June Taylor, whose famous June Taylor dancers regularly appeared on Gleason's television programs. Because Marilyn had long been connected to the entertainment world through her sister's work with Jackie, she understood the pressures of show business far better than his previous wives had. Their marriage turned out to be the most stable and fulfilling of Gleason's life. Marilyn provided a sense of comfort and companionship that helped sustain him through his later years, particularly as he battled declining health. Friends and colleagues often remarked that she was the one who truly tamed the Great One, bringing him peace in his final chapter. The two remained married until Gleason's death in 1987, making Marilyn not only his last spouse, but also the one who stood by him during his most vulnerable years. Jackie Gleason, the legendary comedian and star of the Honeymooners, was never afraid to speak his mind, whether in the press, in interviews, or even in private conversations that later became part of his larger-than-life legacy. Known for his booming voice, sharp wit, and larger-than-life personality, Gleason had rubbed elbows with countless stars during Hollywood's golden age, especially during the height of his career in the 1950s and 1960s. He was a man who saw everything, the glamour, the glitz, the smiles that dazzled millions of fans on screen, but also the darkness and cruelty that hid behind closed doors. In one candid moment later in his career, Gleason stunned audiences and colleagues alike when he openly revealed that some of the beloved Golden Age guests who appeared on variety shows, including his own, were actually evil. According to Gleason, not every actor or entertainer who radiated charm on television or in public had the kind of heart people imagined. He shocked many by naming specific names, going far beyond vague generalizations. One of the figures he brought up was none other than Orson Welles. While Welles was hailed as a genius for Citizen Kane and admired for his booming stage presence, Gleason bluntly remarked, "Orson was brilliant, but don't let that fool you. Behind the curtain, he could be manipulative, selfish, and downright cruel. He wasn't just difficult. He thrived on making other people miserable. I always said some people light up a room when they walk in. Orson lit it up when he walked out." Gleason's harsh words painted a very different picture from the public perception of Welles as a misunderstood artist, instead portraying him as someone who used his intelligence and charisma in darker, more self-serving ways. But Orson Welles wasn't the only name Gleason dropped in his shocking recollection. Another guest Gleason called out was Frank Sinatra, a man revered as Old Blue Eyes, adored by millions of fans and celebrated as one of the greatest singers of all time. Sinatra had appeared with Gleason on several occasions, and while their banter on camera looked warm and natural, Gleason claimed the reality was far different. "Frank had a mean streak a mile wide," Gleason declared. "Don't get me wrong, the man could sing like no other, and when he was in the right mood, he could be charming, but if you got on his bad side, he would cut you down without a second thought. I saw him humiliate waiters, scream at stage hands, and I'll tell you, he liked people to fear him more than love him." For fans who only knew Sinatra as the suave crooner, Gleason's comments were almost unthinkable. But they also echoed rumors that had long swirled around Sinatra's alleged ties to mobsters and his notoriously explosive temper. Even more surprising was Gleason's assertion about another figure from the Golden Age, actress Joan Crawford. Known for her striking beauty, iconic film roles, and polished public persona, Crawford was one of Hollywood's brightest stars. But Gleason dismissed the glamorous image outright, claiming that Crawford's off-screen behavior was shocking. "Joan was one of the coldest people I ever met," he said. "She could turn on that smile for the cameras, but it was like a switch. The minute the cameras were off, it was nothing but ice. She treated people like props, like they were beneath her. If that ain't evil, I don't know what is." Decades later, Crawford's adopted daughter, Christina, would release the infamous memoir, Mommy Dearest, backing up Gleason's impression and showing that his comments may have been more than just harsh words. To Gleason, these revelations weren't just bitter anecdotes. They were warnings about how easily the public could be fooled by the glossy image of stardom. While fans at home saw their favorite celebrities as gods and goddesses, Gleason had seen enough of their real personalities to understand that many of them lived double lives. He explained, "People worshipped these folks like saints, but I can tell you sainthood wasn't in the room. The same people you saw smiling in front of the camera were often tearing someone down the second it was turned off. That's what I mean when I say actually evil. Evil doesn't always wear horns. Sometimes it wears a tuxedo and sings a love song, or it puts on a glamorous gown and waves to the crowd." These rare unfiltered remarks revealed a darker side of Hollywood's golden age that few dared to admit publicly. Jackie Gleason, with his trademark candor and unwillingness to sugarcoat, gave audiences a rare peek behind the curtain, reminding everyone that in the entertainment industry, not all that glitters is gold. Jackie Gleason's swan song on the silver screen came in 1986 with his unforgettable performance in Nothing in Common, a heartfelt comedy drama that paired him with rising star Tom Hanks. In the film, Gleason took on the role of an ailing, sharp-tongued, and emotionally complex father, an infirm, acerbic, and almost Archie Bunker-like figure who finds himself forced into an uneasy yet tender reconciliation with his estranged son. Critics immediately recognized that Gleason had poured his soul into the character, delivering a layered portrayal filled with both biting humor and quiet vulnerability. What audiences did not know at the time was that this remarkable performance was achieved under the shadow of devastating personal struggles. Behind the camera, Gleason was privately fighting a series of grave health battles. He had been diagnosed with colon cancer, and the disease had already spread to his liver by the time filming was underway. On top of that, he was also dealing with painful complications from phlebitis, a condition that inflames the veins as well as the constant challenges of diabetes. In true showman's fashion, Gleason chose to keep these medical hardships hidden from the public eye. To those on set, he may have appeared tired, but the sheer willpower and professionalism he displayed masked just how sick he truly was. Rumors began to swirl that the legendary entertainer was gravely ill. Yet he refused to confirm or discuss the matter, preferring to let his work speak louder than his suffering. The poignancy of Nothing in Common has only deepened with time, as fans now understand that Gleason was in many ways playing a role that mirrored his own life, an aging man grappling with frailty, mortality, and complicated family ties. Less than a year after the film's release, the rumors proved true. On June 24, 1987, Jackie Gleason passed away at the age of 71 in the comfort of his Florida home. His death marked the end of an era, closing the curtain on a career that had spanned television, film, and music, and leaving behind a legacy of laughter, heart, and timeless performances.